Cheers, Mr. Wilson.
Yeah, cheers, Eddie.
And welcome back to the Hockey Guys on a beautiful, clear, cold Saturday morning from the awesome WDAY studios in South Fargo. Well, Wilson, we don't have Jeff today, and he's checked out, not answering the phone, so that makes life a little simpler. We're not on script today.
Well, it's kind of good, because I don't get this, Eddie. Tell me this. It's 2 below, but it feels like 19. I don't get that. I mean, we're from God's country, War Road, Fort Francis, stuff like that. Once Jeff found out it felt like 19 below, he just stayed in bed.
I'd share with you that kind of nice how you tried to attach Fort Francis to War Road. Nice, smooth move there.
I know it's varsity with JV, but hey, we'll push it through. Eh? It's that Rainy River water, right?
This morning at 10 to 6 this morning, I had my grandson wake me up, so I got the pond scraped off today, so Tradition Pond's open for skating.
Nice. What were you going to say, Dr. Phil?
Well, how thick is the ice, Eddie? You gotta be a little careful out there.
Does it matter if you can skate and shovel? Does it matter? I don't need to be a scientist here. I just need to make sure that I can skate.
Put water wings on your grandkids.
Yeah, I would just be a little careful yet. I don't know if it's quite mature, but it might be.
I would suggest to you that I have at least 4.5. It's pushing 5, and after last night, it's probably 6, and after tonight, with the snow off the top, it'll probably be 7.
There you go.
It makes ice based on temperature.
Well, when you're a petite thing like me, you make sure it's thick. So
we appreciate Valley Imports, our sponsor of the Hockey Guys, and we appreciate for your pre-owned, your best price leader in the region. Find your next vehicle at valleyimports.com. So, Doc, which part of the world in Minneapolis again this weekend?
I am. I was down here last night, and I went to the Gopher game. And I'll tell you what, Alaska Fairbanks is a pretty darn good squad. They gave the Gophers all they could handle. It was 1-1. Now, granted, the Gophers couldn't hit the net, and they hit right on the logo for the goaltender for Alaska. So they made his job kind of easy. He stopped 37 shots. But
there's a trend. There's a trend.
Oh yeah.
Bemidji State goaltender makes 39 or 40, and now Alaska's goalie makes 37.
Yeah, and last night the top corners were open all night long. They just couldn't hit them. Snuggerud missed 3 or 4. It was pretty interesting. But give Fairbanks credit. They put the trap on, the neutral zone trap, which is not always the greatest hockey to watch, but they stifled them. They really gummed them up in the neutral zone. They couldn't get a good push. They had a couple during the game where there was a little rally, but they just couldn't sustain it. So be interesting to see what happens, tonight. But
isn't it interesting that Gophers on home ice are not the same Gophers when it's a regulation rink instead of Olympic ice?
Yeah. I think you're spot on with that.
Now the shootout, Phil. Who won the shootout?
They did. Alaska did.
Yeah, that's what I heard. I didn't see it on the news, but I heard that, and I just wanted clarification.
Yeah, it was just 1-0.
So did you take hams out of the case here? We were down 1, so I'm assuming you cracked the hams in Minneapolis with us this morning, Phil.
No, I did not. I should have. That would have been a good thing to do. Yeah, next time I will.
Did you get a chance to talk to Motz, obviously, maybe before the game, obviously not after the game?
No, I try and talk to him after the game. I don't want to disrupt some of the pregame stuff. I mean, if I'm there early enough, I will. But went to dinner, and then, it was difficult to find a parking spot there for Mariucci. I didn't quite understand how complicated that was.
Zamboni door works.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I know. I just don't like doing that, to be perfectly honest. I like to do my own.
The only place worse is U.S. Bank is worse.
Well, yeah. But, I found a spot, and it was, just a cash thing, and that was good. The rest of them were all reserved and everything else. But, I mean, it was fine, got in, and without any problems. And I talked to Motz after, and he was actually fairly pleased. He goes, we played well. I can't fault the kids. They played well, and they did. I think most of the game they played a pretty solid game. And he said the same thing. He just said, we made the goalie look good. and they did. And so hopefully tonight maybe the snipers will have a little better eye, because those top corners are open. This kid goes down quite a bit. He's got a good glove, but he covers the ice really well. But I think if they can get it up a little bit, they'll be fine.
You know, I was thinking, Phil, on the way here today, is that those days of the good teams sweeping at home and maybe splitting on the road, they're kind of gone. It's like that parody again where people they're splitting at home and away.
Except for Arizona. They went in and swept Denver.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what I mean, Phil? It seems like that's kind of the trend now.
But I think you're right. You know, and Eddie hit, and remember, Eddie hit on that. When was that? Last year we were talking about that. You know, as the portal starts to evolve, you know, you're starting to see more and more parity throughout all of the leagues, and I think that's exactly right. I mean, the playing field is starting to level a little bit more. You know, look at Augustana. I think didn't Augie win last night? They beat Northern Michigan like 4-1.
Yeah, they did.
So I
think that the coaches all want to be 500. They never lose their job.
Yeah, well, that's probably true.
But like you said it, like Mott said it, he goes, sometimes doing your best doesn't play out your best. Hey, we played well, we just didn't win. You know, and people bag on coaches. You know, I'm an addict on Facebook, but you know they're bagging. You know what's going on at UND, blah blah blah. You know what? You know, they're just good teams out there. You know, Tom Serratore, he gets jacked to play UND, and they play really well. And didn't mean that UND played bad. It was just a great hockey game.
Well, you know, and we all know. I mean, it's the bounce of the puck, and you just have a couple of those, and you can win a game. It's that tight now. I mean, you know, look at UND Bemidji State, 2-1. You know, it was
35 shots. You'd have the same thing, that lots of attempts, but the puck doesn't end up in the back of the net.
Yeah, no, exactly right. Exactly right.
And I used to say
I think it's great. I mean, it's great for us as fans because the games are so competitive now. I mean, it's not like you're going to see these big blowouts. Although, you know, Wisconsin did blow out Alaska Anchorage, but you know, Alaska Anchorage I think is still growing. But you know, everything is competitive, and that's what you want as a fan. I mean, the game last night was competitive. It was fun to watch. You know, Fairbanks really put the body on the Gophers, and that stifled them there at center ice. That was interesting. So anybody wanting to play that has to play the Gophers, just look at that game because they shut them down pretty well.
And as was mentioned, North Dakota loses at Bemidji State tonight. North Dakota's at home against Bemidji State, so see what kind of a bounce back that is. The other one that I thought was maybe a little interesting was when you take a look at some of these crossovers. Princeton, number 40. Over Ohio State, number 15. So all of a sudden, the pairwise as the league's going to be interesting to see going into the break where things are at, because not a lot of chances to move after the break because it's all interleague play. Right.
You know what caught my eye? Western Michigan.
Yes.
Pounded Michigan at Lawson.
Western Michigan is. Yeah, they may come out and be the top team here. So we appreciate our sponsors of the Hockey Guys, Ham's Beer Beverage Wholesalers, the first period sponsor for the intermission, and appreciate Ham's still brewing that true family tradition using a Pierce water and a choicest barley, grain, and hops. And we start out the show here every Saturday morning with a little cheers to Ham's. So, Wills, you're looking good on your stack this morning. It looks like you're on about number 3. But
I got to slow down. I got the Santa Claus look. You know, you can't have an Uber driver when you're a Santa Claus.
But we're having some fun. We'll be back after the break with Stacey Goodrich, who will give us some more insight into the mental side of the game of hockey. So we'll be back here on the Hockey Guys. The hockey guys are back, and Mr. Johnson, are you there with us? And give a little intro to our guest.
Absolutely, and it definitely is my privilege again. And I don't know if people listening were listening 2 weeks ago, but they should have. But at that time, we had Stacey on for her first visit here on the Hockey Guys. But basically, Stacey Goodrich is an owner of So Connected down here in the cities. She's a master practitioner in neuro-linguistic programming. But more importantly, she really specializes as a professional in mental blocks in athletes so that they can perform their best in any situation. Over the course of the many years, she's worked with numerous athletes, both internationally and nationally, from the youth level all the way up to the professionals. She's the author of 3 books. And what I think that is really important is that she's invented this concept of the circles, where you have A circle, B circle, and C circle. And I'll let her try and explain that a little bit again about how that all works in trying to release yourself from these mental blocks that you sometimes have during both life and also in profession. So, Stacey, it's a privilege to welcome you again back to the Hockey Guys, and we're happy to have you again.
Welcome, Stacey.
Well, hi, everybody. Thanks for having me back. It's great to be here.
Well, all right, so I'm going to lead off with a question right off the chute. We were talking about this, during the Vikings and Bears game a little bit. You had texted me and said that the Vikings were playing not to lose. Explain how, when you look at a game, or explain when you're evaluating things in that degree, how can you tell that a team is maybe, or a player is playing not to lose? And what should we do about it?
Well, Phil, I think what you mentioned in the beginning too, most people, when they see an athlete struggling, and we all know what that looks like. We can, see that they're lacking confidence, or they're in their head. That's what we will see. They're overthinking things. And most people are consciously saying, okay, just don't think about it. Just do it, And if that worked, they would have done it. And so we're digging into a little bit more of what the problem is for that athlete. And when we have things in our head that are affecting us and our ability to perform our best, that's where I can help those people understand how to manage that and what to do to shift their mindset so that they can focus on being their best. Now, you bring up a great topic. I love the topic of playing to not lose, because playing to not lose has its advantages. People that play to not lose win sometimes, and we see it all the time. So there are some really good strategies to playing to not lose. Like Mike Zimmer, our old Vikings coach, was a great defensive coach, and he played to not lose a lot, and he would win games because of that. Does that make sense? Like, he would understand defensively how to do well, but sometimes it would come across as playing to not lose versus really going after the ability to win and what that looks like. And so the playing to not lose can also look like they're not going after it. They're not doing what they need to do to win, because they may not understand how to do that in that situation. And that's where they get caught.
Hi, Stacey. Dean Wilson here. And I want to piggyback off that thought. As a former coach, you'd play the Powers that had that great tradition and that paradigm shift about how to make your program stronger, and to have that mindset that, we'd play things, and I coached at the high school level. We played teams like, the Moorhead, for instance, was a great program. Guys are going to the rink going, well, we're going to lose. We haven't even played the game. And how do you shift that by beating strong teams and then eventually becoming that strong program, which I believe we did down the road?
Well, you're right. Like, when any individual athlete and as a team, we all have a mindset going into everything. And, Phil mentioned the circles, and A circle is a technique I teach, providing people with the ability to be aware of what those thoughts are that were once controlling them unconsciously. So, for instance, whatever's in your A circle is what's making decisions for you, or what's controlling you in that situation. So we we can have thoughts in our A circle. We can have people in our A circle. How many athletes have their coaches in their A circle and what they think their coaches want them to do, for instance? So if I'm an athlete, I'm thinking, oh my God, okay, I don't want to upset my coach. I don't want to do it wrong. And so those thoughts are what's actually controlling that athlete when they're performing. Or they can have fear or doubt or worry in their A circle. And so that when you teach A circle to athletes, then they're aware. Oh, I have my coach in my A circle. Okay, how does that affect me? What do I want to do about that? Is that helpful? Is it not helpful? So it puts the athlete in their own A circle with some of the things that in the past were automatically controlling that athlete. And that just empowers the athlete to be more in control of what they're thinking about, and then that aligns directly with their behavior.
Stacey, Eddie Christian here, and I'm going to ask an interesting question. I love what you're doing, by the way, because something that I was able to get involved with, neurolinguistic programming, is real. It's used every day in the world of sales and marketing. So I'm going to throw something here that's really bizarre, because when you take a look at humans, that's predictable. But when we add, I'm going to throw this one at you. The metrics used in sports that shifts the right brain, left brain, and I think that's where your A circle comment caught me here. The metrics they've added to sports, how does that get the player to stay in their right state of mind?
Well, it depends on how they're perceiving the metrics, right? It depends on how the athlete, if the athlete believes that they have something that they do well, and they have confidence in that mentality, that automatically is going to kick in as a resource and a benefit. But really what's valuable is the athlete understanding how to do that consciously so that they can practice it and maximize that opportunity that goes along with that mentality that they have. So, did I answer your question, or is that?
I think you led right into where I wanted to lead to. Thank you. And that is that when you take a look at, well, let's talk pro sports real quick, because we're a college hockey show here, but let's go to how the college player shifting to pro. When a defenseman gets paid based on plus minus, that's an automatic shift on how that player is going to play, because if they have a good plus record as a defenseman, their income goes up. And now you talk about metrics versus emotion, right? Because you can watch that same player come out playing wide open all the time and go into an absolutely reserved defensive mode when they play pro hockey. And that's what's interesting to watch about the game.
Yes, what you're talking about is what I would call a goal beyond the goal. Like, what is the athlete's goal beyond the goal? That's what's going to keep him intentional to move toward that goal and that metric in that instance. So if, take pro, I believe Kirk Cousins was a great quarterback, but his goal beyond the goal was to look good so he could negotiate a better contract next time around. He was great at his own stats and his own ability to do what he needed to do as an individual. I just wanted him to be able to use the goal beyond the goal to win more football games, like on a Monday night or where it really counted. But the metrics can provide a goal beyond the goal that is really valuable for that athlete. But being consciously aware of what that is and how to do that, then they can also use that metric as a way to win games or to be a great teammate, or all those other things that can contribute to a win for the team at the end of the day.
I agree with you totally about Cousins, and for me, like I'd overcoach, and then my players be it's same results. If you're afraid to do something wrong versus doing nothing wrong, the results are the same. You're doing nothing, So to overcoach,
yeah, right.
And I'm going to bounce it back to you, Dr. Phil. Of any thoughts you got, because we only got about a minute left, so throw that out to you.
Stacey, can you quickly address? I mean, last night at the Gopher game, it was pretty obvious. There were a couple of players that were scared to take the shot. They would rather make a pass that didn't work anyway. Talk about that. There's got to be something in their A circle that's contributing to that they don't want to take that shot when they should, and they're trying to pass it and make it look like a pretty play.
Well, the benefit of doing your job, that's what they were doing. You could tell that they were doing what the coaches required of them, and doing your job is sometimes more important than not making a mistake or than making a mistake. And so they didn't want to mess it up, and that can show in their playing to not lose mentality versus playing to win.
Stacey, thank you. We're up against a hard break here. We appreciate coming back on with the hockey guys, and we'll reach back out to you again and bring up some more. I'm sure we'll have some folks that want to catch on to the aspect of how to control the mental state of the game. We appreciate our sponsors here on the Hockey Guys. Citywide Electric is our intermission sponsor for any installation, repair, an electrical project you have in your home. Citywide Electric, North Dakota. even when Jeff's not in studio, Wills, he still has control of these intros. So, Jeff, thanks for the music. Coach Eric Lang, American International College, welcome to the Hockey Guys.
Eddie, good morning. How are you guys?
We're doing good, thanks. Here in studio with Dean Wilson this morning. We had Doc Phil down chasing gopher pucks last night, and Jeff Bradall's chasing his son, which you're well aware of, out in Bismarck, chasing a high school player. So, Coach, got to spend last weekend for a quick trip with my son Bryant to come out and support you. But bad news for a D1 hockey program, and probably maybe to help folks understand a pickle that gets put in place. The bad news is the school chose to notify you that your D1 hockey program will be done at the end of this year, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
No, you have that correct, Eddie. And I have to tell you, it was unbelievable to see you and Bryant. You guys hop out on a plane, and we have 50-plus alum come show up for our alumni weekend. And to be honest, was a tough weekend to get through. But to see you there last week, I know I sent you a text, but that meant the world to me. And it's times you go through some times like this. Excuse me, I'm getting choked up already. You go through some times like this, and the amount of people in this hockey community that have reached out is incredible, and it's a special group for sure. And I can't thank you enough for being out there last weekend, and Brian as well, who I gave the pregame speech to on Saturday, and he was outstanding. A real yellow jacket.
Eric, Dean Wilson here. Just kind of fill me in a little bit about the Y factor for D2. Is it financing? I don't know. It always seems to be dollar driven sometimes, but can you just fill in our audience about why they made that move?
It's at an executive level higher than my pay grade is the politically correct answer. I know we do cost the school some money, and I'm certain that had we been making some money and turning a profit, the picture may look different. Part of me looks and says, hey, what could have I had done differently here? How could the partnership have been a little bit better where we could turn a profit? Because hockey is a profitable sport. It's the third most profitable sport in the NCAA, behind basketball and obviously behind football. So there's a path to making money. We didn't quite capture it, and we can look back and, maybe say, what could we have done better? And I've certainly lived these last couple of weeks thinking, what could I have done better? Because the product we've turned out on the ice over the last 6 or 7 years has been as good as any team in the country. So it's certainly not about winning games or winning championships. It's, we're a small liberal arts school that is a tuition-driven institution with an incredibly small endowment. And, I think the leadership inside the school said, hey, how can we, save some money here? And ultimately they came to the decision that they're going to move the program to Division II. Completely blindsided myself, our staff, but more importantly, it's blindsided our players now. So we have 30 players here looking for a new home who took a leap of faith to come play for little old AIC in Springfield, Mass. And, I feel really obligated to these current players, and I feel really obligated to their families. Two things, to make sure we're coaching them as best we can over these last 4 months, and then ultimately find them another college home, which is, with major junior and roster sizes shrinking, is going to be a heavy lift at the end of the year.
And, Coach, I think what is interesting is that, we take a look at the way that hockey's put together on an NCAA level, that Division II basically has zero ability other than league play, correct?
Eddie, if I sat here and told, I couldn't name 3 other Division II schools in the country. I don't even know what that looks like, and I haven't really been in any conversations with our current, with our current administration on what that's going to look like moving forward. I really am. In our world, and it's weird. You hear it's either Division 1 or Division 3, and the Division 3 hockey is going to be a huge beneficiary of everything happening and transpiring, at our level. But I don't know much about Division 2.
I don't think anybody does because there's nothing there. There isn't any. You have a club championship in college hockey. You have a Division III NCAA championship in college hockey, and you have a Division I NCAA championship in hockey. So I think the questions that everybody has, well, then why wouldn't you move to D3? But that's not available either as an option because of your school's Division II status, correct?
Correct.
So, Wills, there's a conundrum for you, right? So you're basically going from D1, having your hierarchy within the academia world state that you are going to D2, knowing that it's a dead end.
Eric, I got to speak. I have a master's degree in athletic administration, and my wheels are spinning because I'm not in that room with your administrative people that are above us making those decisions, other than the dominoes effect. People going to schools for certain reasons. Some people go to schools not because of playing a sport. They go there because of seeing different opportunities and watching different things. I remember at UND when I was up there, football and basketball won their conference, and the only team that made a profit was the hockey team. So that carried everybody. So there was a lot of things that financially, how things play out, and I'm not just saying this is strictly financially driven. And you said it bang on. Division II dissipated. It went away, and like Eddie said, you never heard of that. You knew 3 and you knew 1, but where in the heck was 2? And I'm the same way. I'm trying to bang my head. The last Division II team I remember, I think, was Bemidji, and that was in 1988 or some darn thing like that. So I'm baffled too, Eric. I feel for you.
Well, yeah, I mean, we appreciate moving forward here. Like, we've got to win some more hockey games here for all of our sanity. And there's no script and there's no playbook on how to coach right now, and we're trying to figure this out as we go. But we're off a tick, and our team is good enough to win hockey games. And we just did a breakdown before I hopped on here with you guys, and it's kind of funny. We're just cheating it enough to not get the result that we need, and I understand why they're cheating it. They're auditioning for their next team. So instead of making the next right play, maybe they're hanging on to it a second too long, or maybe a puck that they certainly would move over. Now they're taking a shot, and it's been tough for us to get the most out of our guys, and having them realize our team success is correlates with their independent success. And it's the ultimate team game, as you guys know, and when teams get individual, there will be no result, and we're living in that world. And I don't blame my players right now. I totally understand it, and I totally get it. And it is it's frustrating on our end, but we got another chance today at 5:00 to try and win a hockey game.
And Coach, thank you. This is interesting, right? We had a gal on earlier, Stacey Goodrich, who's the mental side of the game, and
awesome.
A, B, and C circle and where you're at. But this will become, and I think right now people are probably not paying attention, but as we move forward, this is the case study on what happens when individual play versus team play, and your success rate as a team has been unbelievable. Now you're watching the shift over to little individual. Again, the other part of this is that you are in a different spot because of the portal, because now the players know that they don't have to sit out a year. So December's coming. I think you made a comment, if I heard it right, that you have players that are trying to figure out how they can get out before the end of the year, and that's got to be even more difficult for you and your staff.
It is, and we have a couple players with junior eligibility. They may go back and exhaust that eligibility. We have a couple guys that have said, hey, you know what, I'm a Division III player, and I'm going to go do that. We have a couple of guys that may go on and play pro hockey next semester instead of coming back. So, we're trying to navigate this to each individual, and a lot of our meetings are help me help you. And it's funny, I sat down with Derek Schooley, who's the head coach at Robert Morris yesterday, and I circled 5 players on my line chart, and they weren't they weren't corresponding with the lines. And he said, are these your starters? I said, no, Derek, these are the guys I want you to watch today. And he got a chuckle out of that. But I'm actually doing that. I'm calling teams ahead of time and saying, hey, these 5 or 6 players can really help you. As you're trying to beat us here, keep an eye on them. And I do feel this overwhelming obligation to make sure that all of our players land in a good place and they get to continue their college hockey careers. And unfortunately, it won't be with AIC, which quite honestly breaks my heart.
Coach, thanks for coming on. Thanks for being sincere, honest. We know who you are, so appreciate who you are.
Good luck, Eric.
So appreciate you getting on this morning in the middle of what you're going through to spend some time with us. So go win is what I always tell you, and that's difficult with players that don't know how to do that right now. So we'll be back here in the Hockey Guys. Yeah. We appreciate our period intermission sponsor, Gateway Chevrolet, where you can save big on a Chevy Silverado, Equinox, or Blazer. Go online at fargochevrolet.com. Also appreciate the Fargo Force, Bagan Strinden, Dakota Refrigeration, Welton's Tire Service, Carpet World, Halstonson, Askew Wealth Management, and the Red Pepper. We'll be back. Well, Wills, you got the tears out of your eyes after that visit, because there's no question for some of us that understand commitment, when a coach commits to a player and has to then 4 months into their freshman career say, hey, I have no control over your destiny, but I'll help you do whatever you want. I mean, what an interview with a coach that cares, right?
Well, we talk about it all the time, and it's a different beast with the open portal, a lot of movement, and to have that integrity, honesty. I have two thoughts. First of all, Eric, tip my hat off to you. You're still guiding those guys. It's about what you want to be remembered as a coach, and that just one piece of it is a big piece. I remember Motts with the Gophers, one of the top goalies in the league, wanted to go to the Gophers. He said, "No, we believe in the guy we have. We're not going to bring you in." I like that because, you know what, you got to have that integrity, honesty. Brad Berry talked about it. You got to be with those hard conversations with your players to keep them there. I'm still sour about UND girls, and it's guys and girls, identical but different. UND drop it, and I think, the other day, this Fisher gal from the Spruans, North-South girls hockey, made the 18U U.S. team that's playing in Finland. I mean, this girl, we watched her the other night, and I go, any guy team would like to pick her up, and she'd be in the top 2 defensemen on your team. She's good,
a player.
Good size. She's a player, but we're producing those type of girls now all over. But anyways, I'm getting on my soapbox, but like I said, a lot of it is financially dollar-driven, and I hate that, but it's real world. And I just tip my hat up to Coach Eric. What a class act, good guy.
It was a tough little trip that I took last week. My son reached out Wednesday and said, will you go? And my first response was I wanted to say no. And when he sent me a little note on Thursday saying that he had a hotel and a car rented, then it was almost like I was committed, Wills, right? So, but glad that I did in order to support Eric Lane, and also an assistant coach there. It's a pretty interesting. I believe he has 9 assistants that he has had with him since he went to AIC that are now coaching in D1 hockey. So all of his players and all of his coaches will land on their feet.
Great mentor.
But I think the world of hockey has some good people, and once in a while you have to recognize those. Well, Wills, what do you think's going to happen as you take a look at, our beloved team to the north? For us ex-Sioux guys, we're saying, hey, North Dakota, what's going on? The goaltending was, I think you referenced early in the year, and now you got 2-1 games, you got 3-2 games, so that part of it came around. So now on the offensive side, what has to change to get some scoring?
Well, you know what? They've been plagued with injuries. They're banged up. They've got some key players out, and that's a big piece to people going, you next man up. But sometimes the next man up is not quite as prepared or skilled as the guy that just got bumped out. So you got that piece of it. I always tell people, don't panic. You got to win the right games at the right time and be ready for playoff bound. You still got a few months away to fine tune, try just things. And you know what? I wasn't at the game. But sometimes doing your best doesn't play out. I mean, you're playing hockey, you're working hard. You come against a hot goalie. The days when I played junior hockey, hey, Eddie, do you want to run the goalie or should I? You got a hot goalie. Those days are gone. You should win games because of good goaltending. Hopefully you don't lose any games because of poor goaltending. But, it is what it is, and give credit where due. I'm going to throw this out to Saratory with Bemidji. I think he's one of the hardest working guys, and maybe people question this, but bringing in good talent up at Bemidji, and I've watched him several times. There's guys I'm going, wow, he landed that guy. That guy is like the real deal and dude. And not to be condescending of my thoughts about, he brings in some great players.
Well, when fishing's good, the players are better. When fishing's bad, there's nothing to recruit with.
Yeah, when you can put I met up there, my daughter went to school there, when you can put the fish house right outside the dorm and you're 2 minutes away from being in a fish house, it's a good gig. And the students can drive across the lake during the winter to get to the rink.
And we'll give a little comment that as we had Stacey Goodrich on talking about the mental aspect of the game, and I'm going to throw out, and Dean, we've kind of had this conversation, but not only is AIC going through the mental aspect of a program change, the announcement that your major junior player is on par now with your college player, and also the college player who's handled by a rep or a parent helper if they're sitting there and they're not exactly in the lineup playing what the minutes they think they were, the potential to have them leave college hockey and go across to go play major, because you know that as well, major junior plays more games than college hockey.
Well, they do, and you have a good point, because I think of Stacey again, our first guest, about now your mindset, what you're talking about, and Chalk talking that, you got to add a little piece to it. It's not the same. She talked about Kirk Cousins. He was worried about his contract, maybe more so than he wanted to play well, but maybe more worried about his contract than the Viking as a whole. So how do you work through that? Something that I added, and I was pretty proud of it. Every Wednesday we'd call Couch Talk. No X's and O's. We talk about different issues. And during the season, you could have many different issues, from a relative passing away to many different topics, just like this, going from D1 to D2. What are you talking about in the locker room? What are you talking about it? How do you change that mindset to work hard and keep everybody together? Because this year ain't over yet. And you hope you don't have players in that locker room thinking, I'm done. I'm moving on.
And I think that's the tougher part. So anybody out there that has a comment, we'd welcome it. 701-293-9000. 701-293-9000. If you give us a call, and your thoughts on how you would deal with the complexity of college hockey when it comes to, we're moving into December. And I throw this out that this is the time when you start to see some interesting dynamics happen. I think Coach Lang mentioned it. Not the first program that's had somebody that went back to junior. Not the first program that's ever had somebody that leaves and goes to play pro hockey. And not the first program that would have somebody that decides to change schools in December. So kind of an interesting thing to think about. But if you're coaching with stability, and now you're a coach in college hockey and there's no stability, how do the coaches, Dean, adjust to this?
Well, I've always said this, during the season, you're going to have highs and lows. You could be 20-0 and have highs and lows. And you have these little baby grass fires. I used to tell my players, the less grass fires, the more we can focus on hockey. But you're always going to have them. Like I said, a death in the family, a girlfriend dumps you, parents divorce. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that can happen in the dynamics of a team.
Sounds like you've been through all of those.
I have been through a few.
And the result is always?
You'll get through them. It's how you handle them.
Have you found that your players are also able to lift each other up? Because, again, sometimes you find out what team is when you have a grass fire, correct?
And to recognize, pump your players' tires up if they need them.
Well, thanks for listening to the Hockey Guys this week. We'll be back next week with maybe Mr. Johnson. We're not sure where he's at. I confirmed that maybe Minneapolis. We haven't put the tracker on his phone. Jeff is out chasing his son playing high school hockey, and we've been through that well, you and I. So good for Jeff. He gets to go enjoy that. And we'll be back next week here on the Hockey Guys.